Hello and welcome to a new video here on the Giant Take YouTube channel. My name is Josh. If you've been keeping up with the YouTube channel videos recently, I am back. I was on vacation in different setups, but now I'm back home, so hopefully the audio video looks pretty good and sounds pretty good here. And I'm excited to be back to give you the 3 players to watch in when I'm recording this on Saturday night. Tomorrow's game, New York Giants versus New York Jets. The New York rivalry in MetLife Stadium, the MetLife Stadium Bowl, the rivalry of MetLife Stadium, whatever you want to call it. But it's the rivalry game in week 3, the final week of the 2022 preseason. Exciting stuff because right after the game, a few days later, we're going to get cuts. We're going to get down to that 53-man roster, and we are so close to the regular season. So I'm super excited. Fantasy football drafts are happening. Mine haven't happened yet, but I'm excited for them to happen soon. Yes, it's all happening, and it's all happening really quickly. So, without further ado, let's get to the 3 players to watch in the Giants versus Jets final preseason game. This is my opinion. This is who I have. Please let me know in the comments down below if there aren't some people that I don't have. If there's some people that you think are players to watch, let me know in the comments who you think they are, and yeah, I'd really appreciate it. So, no particular order, but just 3 guys. Number 1 is Alex Bachman. Had 11 receptions for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns last week against the Bengals. If he wasn't the player of the game behind Davis Webb, he would be known as the second best player of the game last week. Bachman competing for a roster spot at the wide receiver position could very well go on the practice squad. I don't think another team would claim him if the Giants wanted to do that. But just remember, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and CJ Board all dealing with injuries in the preseason. So I assume that if not, maybe I would think all of them don't play. Maybe Darius Slayton plays, maybe CJ Board plays, but I would say at least Toney and Shepard will not be playing. Although Shepard's back now, so I don't know. I would think the Giants rest him, but those 4 guys, at least I know for sure, have been dealing with injuries throughout this preseason. We'll see who plays, but even if they do play, this is the final game. I assume this is where, even though Dable has put his starters in both weeks before this, prior to this week 3 matchup in preseason, he's put them in for a couple series, if not the whole first quarter. I would think this is where he's the lightest, where he might start his starters only for a series, maybe. He doesn't want to have injuries right before the regular season begins. So then that gives Alex Bachman a lot of time to produce. We also have the unfortunate injury of Colin Johnson, who was a standout here in preseason and training camp. It puts him out for the season. He tore his Achilles this week in practice, which is really sad. Unfortunate for him. A guy that was probably a promising player who was going to make the roster. But this is just how the NFL goes. Injuries happen all the time, which then leaves room for other players to rise up depth charts and make rosters due to injuries. And in this case, it's a lucky situation for Alex Bachman, which I can never say that without, kind of making a face, because it's like a lucky situation that a guy, lost his season because of an injury. But in this case, that is how it sounds, and it's true because of the injury to Colin Johnson. Alex Bachman has a chance to now shine in this final game and then hopefully get his spot on the roster, sort of replacing where Colin Johnson would be. But anyway, that is my first player here. So look out for Bachman. If he plays well, it could help in him making the roster. Number 2, Micah McFadden, a guy that already seems like he's making the roster, but definitely a player to watch for the reasons of he already has been showing out a little bit. Last week, he had 5 tackles, 3 tackles technically, and then 2 assisted tackles last week against the Bengals, with another injury, because the Giants have been really struggling with injuries so far in training camp and the preseason. Haven't even gone to the regular season yet, and rookies are getting injured left and right. This one being Darian Beavers, sadly tore his ACL last week, putting him out for the season, which then another player like Bachman with the Johnson injury, McFadden with the Darian Beavers injury, leaves him a spot to rise up the linebacker depth chart for the New York Giants. This could contribute. Rising in the depth chart, could help McFadden play in the regular season and play more than we expected him. Sure, he might have gotten a few snaps in the regular season, but if he shows up in this game, if he makes the roster, which he will, but when he makes the roster, I guess, He could definitely be playing a lot more in the regular season. Currently, I would say he's behind when it comes to the linebackers. Blake Martinez, obviously, Tay Crowder. And then it's interesting between Cam Brown and Carter Coughlin. I think they're probably both ahead of him. But again, if he shows out in this game, if the Giants coaches like him, he could definitely be shooting up that depth chart and playing, having a good amount of time in games come regular season in week 1. The third and final guy I have here, Thompson Fox, my co-host and friend Alex's favorite player to talk about. If you haven't already, catch the episode on YouTube or on podcast platforms, our Giants versus Bengals recap. He had a lot to say about him. Obviously, if you remember the name or like, wait, that comes to mind. Why do I recognize that guy? And you don't really know why. I'll remind you now. Had the game-saving hit last week against the Bengals. Basically, absolutely a demolishing tackle, letting the ball go loose, and the Giants picking it up. So yes, the game-saving play, the game-saving hit, whatever you want to call it, he won the game for the Giants last week. So with that being said, what has he got to do to make this roster? Well, have a good game tomorrow is one of them, and he's going to have a lot of time to do it. Like I said, I think these guys in the back end of the roster, of the depth chart, are going to have a lot of playing time. Brian Dable, Joe Shane, all the coaches, whatever you want to call it, they're going to want to give these guys at the back end the chance to shine before they make these cut downs. 90, I know they're technically at like 85, 80 now, whatever, but 85, 80 to 53, it's a big jump. A lot of cuts are going to be made. And with that being said, I'm sure they want to give these guys an equal chance to show what they got before they have to make those cuts. So Thompson Fox being one of them, he's competing for a roster spot, undrafted free agent from this year. With Ellerson Smith's injury, he could very well go to the IR. We'll have to see, which is not good stuff. But that being said, that gives Fox a chance to slide in that depth chart and make the roster. It seems to be between him and Quincy Roche for that one spot. Now Roche got third-team reps a lot of the time in training camp, at least the open ones, and it's been a very upsetting situation for many Giants fans who know that Quincy Roche is better than that, but I guess the Giants coaches just don't value him that highly. If you remember when he was playing against those third-team guys, all he was doing was getting past them and beating offensive linemen who, I mean, one of them was Roy Mbedeka, I believe that's how you say his name, who was the Giants international player they brought in this offseason. The guy hasn't played offensive tackle in his life, and you're putting him against Quincy Roche, who's a guy who's played football for many years. He's obviously going to get past him, so he looked really good in those reps. And you've got to think that Roche will hopefully make the roster, but if there's one cut I would say that Giants fans are going to be upset about, including me, that it's like, oh my God, they really cut this guy. I think Roche could definitely be up there if there's going to be one, which gives Thompson Fox, my third player to watch in this game, the spot to shine. We'll have to see what happens, and if he can make the roster, exciting stuff for the undrafted free agent. If he doesn't, definitely a guy the Giants can hopefully keep around in the practice squad. So those are the three players I think you should be watching for in the New York Giants versus New York Jets game. Again, it's Alex Bachman, Micah McFadden, and Thompson Fox, and I'm sorry, but I couldn't go around doing this without having two honorable mentions. Only did two, okay? I only did two. The two are, I'll run through them quickly. Ryder Anderson, fighting for a defensive line spot position against a few other guys. I don't need to go through them. There's like 4 or 5 of them. But see if he makes some plays. We'll have to see. I assume he won't make the roster, but again, an honorable mention, someone to keep in mind. If you hear his name, if you see him make a play, write it down. Be like, interesting. And then we'll have to go from there. And then number 2, David Sills, who's a wide receiver. The Sills army is strong after last week. He had 5 catches for 56 yards against the Bengals. He's literally in the same spot that Alex Bachman is. It's just a matter of who's going to rise up there a little bit more. Bachman and Sills, if the Giants want to keep them on the practice squad, 2 guys that probably have the potential to not get signed to another team where the Giants could keep them on the practice squad. So that's something, another name to look for. David Sills, he's going to get a lot of playing time with all these wide receivers who are injured. Look for David Sills there. For right now, my name is Josh. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button down below. Drop a like on this video. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time, probably for our recap of the Giants versus Jets game. I don't know when to say. I'm going to say tomorrow because that's when I'm recording this. But we'll see you for the recap. Peace.